Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacarya Ashto Turasata Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Guna Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Shapadantikam Vanchakolpatarubhya Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Welcome to all. Since, let's see, yes. Since everybody has slideshows, we'll give you a bit of a slideshow today. Yes. This is our subject matter, no risk steps on the path of Vanaprastha life. And let's see, am I sharing the right thing? I think I am. No. Yes? Looked good? Can't tell. Give me a moment. We're a little new at this. I don't usually do this stuff. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to look, right? So last week, we had a short session because there was another session, an early, Krishna Nandini was starting early and we wanted to leave time for her. So now we have more time. So I'll review a little bit of what we talked about last time and we'll go on to a little bit more. Marital social distancing. Doesn't cost you anything, but it's powerful. We've had 25 more years of subtle bodies combined. We won't talk about gross bodies, but just the subtle bodies always being locked up tight. So what helps with that? Distance. That's the first thing. Of course, no sex in the Vanaprastha ashram, that we know. Now separate beds can be there, separate rooms can be there, and gradually as one progresses, as we progress in Vanaprastha life, the theme is more and more distance, loosening that most powerful of all material attachments. Any question about that? Okay. And yeah, well, it's like distributing books, you know, you distribute books, it's really easy until you have to ask for the money. That's where everything's tested, right? It's easy to give them away, but so here also, it's easy, but can we do it? With determination and a confidence of higher happiness, yes, we can. We talked about this last time also, eating at regular times, eating simple food, avoiding rich, opulent food, which is meant for the householders. Now we're in Vanaprastha life. We're not householders anymore. Gramya Kata, Nashunibe, get rid of Gramya Kata. Ditch television, give it away, cancel your cable subscription at least. Cancel your newspaper or magazine subscription, save some money. Limit your computer time. My policy is, and I'd like to limit it more, but at least no gadgets before 9 in the morning, that's sadhana time. And for the rest of the day, if you're using Firefox or Chrome, there's a wonderful extension called Leech Block, which helps you manage. It does exactly what it says. It blocks sites that leech your time, and you know what those sites are. So you can set your own limits on those sites, and Leech Block will help you. I'm sure there are other extensions for other browsers, but that's the one I know about. And then apart from that, well, we don't need electronics for Gramya Kata. We don't need newspapers. We can generate our own. So we want to avoid Gramya Kata, which really means speaking more about Krishna Katha, Srinvatam Svakatha, Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana. Nature abhors a vacuum. We can't just shun Gramya Katha, we have to have better Katha. Anything here?
Maharaj, in the chat window, there's a question from Andy. He asks.
Tell me about that chat window, because I don't see it with the other things going on here.
Okay, yeah. What Andy asks is there such a thing as starting, I'm guessing he means starting Vanaprastha ashram prematurely?
Yeah, if you're 10 years old, it's too early. But yes, there is such a thing as starting prematurely. If you just got married, last week or last month or last year, then the Vanaprastha ashram is really premature. If you wanted to lead a renounced life, then what are you doing? Suddenly becoming a Vanaprastha. So better than just skip marriage. So it can be premature, but otherwise, the steps we're talking about are, well, except for sex is allowed in householder life. So it's recommended, have children and have them early. Don't wait till you're 48 so that you've got extended your jail sentence another 20 years. Get married, have your children, and then move on. So yes, but if you're headed up toward 50, it's not too soon. But how you do it, that's an individual discussion, an individual consideration. There may be some things that are premature for some people and other things that are, and the same thing, not premature for others. It's gradual. The theme of Vanaprastha life is gradually loosening these material attachments. So precisely how you do that, that's individual. But the theme is greater and greater detachment. But if you're up toward 50, it's time. It's not premature. Is that okay? Okay.
Yes, he says.
Turning down social invitations. And I know people who are elderly, what I would call, they're old enough, and their life is moving from birthday to graduation to wedding, anniversaries. The invitation cards are always on their tables. This cousin and that nephew and this distant, this cousin brother and this person and that person. There's always something going on in the social world. And this becomes our life. It revolves around different social occasions where we meet our family members, we meet our friends, we congratulate whoever it is. And that's not really for the Vanaprasthas. Because it's based on what? The bodily concept of life, bodily relationships. This is my cousin, this is my nephew, this is my this is my that. Janasya mohoya maham mameti. So Vanaprastha life means pull back on that. All right, there may be something you can't avoid, but don't make your life a social life moving from one social occasion to another. And that's not just me. Grihastasya kriya tyago vrata tyago vatorapi tapasvino grama seva. Tapasvino means Vanaprasthas. Gram seva, to live in the village and engage in so-called social activities. That's ashrama vidambana. That's bewilderment. That's bewilderment. Deva maya vimudhamstan upekshata anukampaya. So one should not spend the Vanaprastha ashram, one should not spend one's older years in social occasions. Now, yes, if there's something with devotees and kirtan, you get the opportunity to do that. Yes, all right. But then again, don't make it just moving from one social occasion to another. We want to, and it's for you to consider how much of this, even Vaishnav social occasions, do I want to engage in when it's my relative and another relative and another relative and another relative. So consider, social occasions are not, and particularly non-devotee social occasions, are not for the Vanaprasthas. Any questions?
I had a comment on this, Maharaj.
Sure.
That I keep in touch with my father who lives near us here, and he's in his late 70s, and his social occasions now consist of attending funerals of his previous classmates and work associates and other family members.
Yeah.
So that's what happens.
I recommend funerals. That's a good social occasion. What is it? In Ecclesiastes, better the house of mourning than the house of feasting. The funerals are times when people become sober and thoughtful. So not that I'm recommending that everyone, the Vanaprasthas, spend their life in funerals, but yeah. And there's one scholar commenting again on Ecclesiastes said, every funeral anticipates our own. So again, it's an opportunity to become thoughtful. If you want to engage in social occasions, that's the one to do. Anything else?
I have a question, Maharaj.
Yes?
So when the husband takes sannyas and the wife goes back home, is she supposed to also refrain from social occasions?
I don't know. Let's think about that for a second. Her real business is bhajan.
Mm-hmm.
Her real business is bhajan, Krishna seva. That's more important for a retired woman. So again, I don't have would someone like to add something about that or express some realization about that, some thoughts?
I have a follow-up question if nobody has anything to add to that.
Okay, let's spend a moment more on that. Again, everyone has to consider, am I just wasting my time in social activities, or am I contributing something to someone's Krishna consciousness? If I'm not contributing to someone's Krishna consciousness, why am I going to these social occasions? And one thing which is not on I have 12 slides here, this will be the 13th one. The Vanaprasthas can change their name also. I know Danavir Maharaj, before he took sannyas, he accepted Vanaprastha name, Das Gauravanachari. And others have also done that. Arjai Gursindar Prabhu has done that. You can change your name, you can change your cloth if you like. The light yellow cloth is acceptable. Saffron is not, unless there's absolutely no connection between husband and wife. If the wife is dead or something like that. Otherwise, saffron, no. But yellow, white, that's also, of course, white used to be our standard color, actually, in the very early days for the Grahastas was yellow. But it can be accepted by the Vanaprasthas. The idea is that you want to send out a message to people that I'm not a Grahasta anymore. My life is not meant, I'm changing. My life is not meant for what it used to be meant for. I've graduated, I've come to the next social stage. So if I turn down your social invitation, understand, it's because I'm a Vanaprastha. If I'm not so keen on the sort of things that go on in Grihastha life? Well, it's because I've become a Vanaprastha. So the name starts telling you what to do. The uniform starts telling you what to do. Okay, your question.
Yeah, my follow-up question was, I think, partly answered by your expansion on the first question, and that's that I can understand not going to social events that are not very much related to Krishna consciousness, but I was just picturing a devotee society or a devotee community or congregation in which the Vanaprasthas were staying away, and just thinking, well, that would certainly lower the age demographic of those groups. There would not be very many older people there. But then I thought there's something to be gained from having seen your older devotees at Krishna conscious events. So I guess it would be an individual thing to determine whether, if the Vanaprastha had something to contribute to, it had something to contribute. In other words, if you're invited to speak, or if there's specific service that you have to do, but if it's just to show up for a feast and whatever, maybe not. Am I thinking of it the right way?
Yeah, and I was just thinking it may be progressive also. You know, at first you stop attending the non-devotee functions, then you attend the devotee functions, and then maybe gradually you say, well, these sort of family devotee grihastha functions, I don't really need to attend those also. You know, you may come to a stage where I'd rather stay home and do my bhajan. I'd rather go out and preach. I'd rather do something else. These are sort of the grihastha activities. Just as a sannyasi may not be very eager to take part in grihastha functions. So Vanaprastha also may come.
I guess I'm having a little, I'm sorry.
Well, he may also reach that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just having a hard time understanding or figuring out what would be an event to avoid. Like we used to have the Friday night kirtans in Alachua, and when you were around, you would attend those, and it was mostly grihastas, and it was strictly chanting. But I guess I don't know what events I would avoid as a Vanaprastha.
Well, one theme here is that once you've picked up the idea of detachment and gradual moving away from family activities, then Krishna helps tell you what to do. If you're sincerely trying to look toward this kind of freedom, then Krishna tells you what to do. You get guidance from Krishna or from other older devotees, those who are in the same mood as you. Should we do this or should we not do this? And again, I'm not going to lay down a rule here. This is okay, that's not okay. But it's your determination to get free from material life and be fully absorbed in spiritual life. So it's not abominable, of course, for Vanaprasthas to engage in kirtan, which is also a social activity with grihastas or others. Doesn't sound abominable to me. But you can see and consider, this is the time of life where we consider carefully, do I just want to be there for a social occasion? And lots of times that's what it is. It's a kirtan, but really it's a birthday, really it's a this, really it's a that. And you see where the balance is. Is it really all about a birthday with a little kirtan added, or is the birthday just an excuse for kirtan? You get to know. You'll navigate the territory using your good intelligence. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item. Getting rid of extra stuff. Sell it, give it away, somehow or other. Unburden yourself. And I heard Pancharatna Prabhu and Atita Guna speaking in Mayapur at a little mini seminar on Vanaprastha life. And they were talking about how they did exactly that. They had so much stuff, and they started, when they became serious, that yes, we really want to embark on the Vanaprastha portion of our life. That's one of the things they did. They just started giving away stuff. And it's amazing, you know, in 25 years, how much stuff can you accumulate? Quite a lot. Unnecessary clothes, unnecessary doodads, unnecessary mementos, unnecessary gadgets, unnecessary this, unnecessary that. And it can be fun. It can be a challenge. How much can we get rid of? How much can we get rid of? Then after that, come around again sometime later. How much more can we get rid of? Because what we really need is not as much as we think. So once you, the more, and so again, simplifying life, getting free from I and mine, which are the big attachments of this material world, down to really what we need and not what we have accumulated. And okay, if the things may be really useful, then they're useful for somebody. Hand them to the right person, or just, you know, goodwill as is always an option. But don't allow these things to weigh you down. Start getting rid of them. You're definitely going to be separated from them when you die, so better in advance. Anything else on this?
Tulsi Priya in the chat says that even the non-devotee grihastas are doing that divesting business now. It's very trendy.
Yeah, I'd suggested to some years ago to some of my disciples that if you're looking for a profession, you can become a divestment counselor and make your clients rich clients, and then you can go through their homes with them. Bertha, do you really need these knickknacks? You know, when was the last time you used this? When was the last time you do that? And take a big fee for helping them open up their life. And then it was sort of a jest, but then I found out that it's a serious occupation. People do it. And
there's a whole Netflix series and series of books on that very topic.
Wow.
There's a question in the chat from Jan. He says, you suggest simple foods, but even sannyasis enjoy sumptuous prasadam. What is the proper activity?
Well, for sannyasis or for anyone who wants to make spiritual progress, it's better to eat simply. Simple doesn't mean it has to be tasteless, it has to be terribly austere, but that's described in Bhagavad Gita. What is that? Sattva, Bala, Rogya, Sukha, Priti, Vivardhana. Nourishing, healthy, that kind of food. Rather than food that's like real hot, real spicy, real sweet, real sour, sensational, simple food. So that goes for sannyasis. Sannyasis who are uncontrolled in their eating or who eat opulently may find that to be an obstacle in their spiritual progress. Definitely. They're, you know, doing the banquet circuit and sort of stuffing themselves or looking forward to the next occasion where we can visit a home where there's a really good cook. That's not very good. So generally, of course, we have feasts, we have festivals, we have occasions where good food comes of its own accord. And it's not that we have to be so terribly strict, but sannyasis and vanaprasthas and brahmacharis, those who want to, and even grihastas who want to control their senses, this eating in the mode of passion will not help us. But controlled eating will help us a lot. Eating regulated amounts, regulated food, and it doesn't mean tasteless. Again, you can eat simple doesn't mean tasteless, and simple doesn't mean nothing nice. But if our diet is mostly gulab jamuns and sweet rice and samosas and pakoras and all sorts of all the good stuff, that's not going to be very helpful. And in householder life especially, we're accustomed to eating very nicely. And that's one of the big features of householder life. You get a wife who's a good cook and she makes all nice things to please you. But as we get older, even from the health point of view, simpler eating will help us, particularly if we're carrying more weight than we need to. Eating more simply will help us. Dukkha shoka maya prada. Eating in the mode of passion causes misery. So better to simplify. And sannyasis, definitely. And again, it's not that, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm a sannyasi. I can't eat a samosa. No, you can't. But and even in Chaupati, there were so many householders who wanted to feed the brahmacharis that the brahmacharis were having feasts like every day, every other day. And it was becoming horrible, It was like almost an ordeal, another feast, oh my God. So they merged it, that all the householders could offer on like one day a week or one day a month, whatever it was, because it was interfering with the purpose for which the brahmacharis were there, for making spiritual progress. So simple eating. Okay, anything else? Is that all right, Jen?
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Maharaj, I just had hopefully a helpful additional comment on the topic of getting rid of needless stuff.
Sure.
And that is that as you survey your possessions and in the mood of divesting needless things, you may periodically reassess what you have, and with looking through the lens of what things facilitate my service right now and what things do not. And that may also change over time. Like, for example, I was speaking with Bhattahari Prabhu the other day about this topic, that he's moved out of his big house. And I asked him what his current stock of musical instruments is, because we commiserate in that way occasionally. And he said, oh, you should never get rid of your musical instruments.
That's all right. Bhattahari his instruments are Sankirtan instruments. Not in the Vanaprastha ashram, but maybe some of you have seen that Vidyapurna Maharaj travels around the world with like a hardly more than a rucksack. There's an amazingly small amount of stuff. And I asked him, how did you get it like that? And he said that after every time I was traveling, I would see what I didn't use, and then I wouldn't bring it anymore. So you can do that in your householder life. What is it that you're keeping for a rainy day, that you're keeping for who knows when, that you're keeping because, well, my aunt gave it to me and da 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 da. What is it that's really not essential, not required, as Prabhupada would say? What can we ditch? And so, do it and then come back again for another swipe at it. Thank you. Anything else? Okay.
Consider in the chat, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
In the chat, Panchatattva Prabhu suggests a regulated time for eating is very helpful. For example, no eating after 6 or 7 p.m.
Yeah. Certainly not eating big at night. And again, everyone's different. Everyone has a different metabolism. Everybody has different needs. We don't want to just lower a boom on everyone. But I found also that like before breakfast, it's been my policy a long time. I don't eat before breakfast because it distracts. I'll get on, I can live if I don't eat before breakfast. Now, other people in their service or in their situation, maybe their health requires it or for whatever reason. So it's not that one size fits all. But if you cut your eating in the morning, you reduce or cut out your evening eating, that can be very good. And especially no big eating at night is very helpful. And if it's no eating, like Prabhupada in the evening, he would take some milk, some puff rice, something, but not the evening feast. What is it? Even the karmis say you should eat, what is it? Breakfast like a prince, lunch like a king, and dinner like a pauper. Okay, anything else? Okay. Switch to a simpler vehicle. In householder life, either to impress our friends or to feel that we're happy, or maybe for our business to impress our customers or whatever, we acquire a big impressive vehicle. Maybe we don't need that. Maybe we can make do with a low-end vehicle and be just as happy. And it's the whole automotive industry sort of works in part on the principle of you project your whole subtle body is invested in and projected through your vehicle. So they have vehicles that are like zoom, sporty, and vehicles that are opulent, and vehicles that are this and vehicles that are that. And I'm not this vehicle. I'm not even the body. And then what to speak of the carrier for the body. So, finally a car is just, if it gets me from here to there, good. Now, I understand that you make intelligent decisions about maintenance and so on and so on and so on. But really, a Vanaprastha probably doesn't need a Lexus. And there's a sort of an amusing book by one author. He wrote it as sort of a not exactly a lark, but as an exercise in writing, and it later became a sociology textbook. And the theme of it is sort of that, among other things, that there's classes in America, sort of middle class, high class, and then there's super high class. So a BMW or a Lexus or a Mercedes, he says that's the kind of car that's driven by like a Los Angeles dentist or something. And the super rich, they're driving like a 1985 Chevrolet. Because they don't want to call attention to themselves. So anyway, there's the theme. Consider making do with a low-end vehicle, or maybe you don't even need a vehicle. Maybe your vehicle's just a burden for you, depending on your situation. So you can think about all of that. Dwellings. As you said, I think Badahari just moved to a simpler. So again, maybe it's more trouble than it's worth, or maybe your dwelling is already simple enough, but maybe you would benefit. Maybe it would be a good opportunity for you to have less. The kids who've moved out, you don't need such a big house. It's just costing you to maintain, and you could do better with a more modest dwelling, or a dwelling in a more strategic location, like where there's association of devotees, where you're out of the city, where you're in an American holy place like Gita Nagari or similar, or as Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu has done, he's moved to the temple. Now that's the ultimate in simplification. So these are thoughts. Then we've talked about do without this, do it without that, but there's the positive side to to up your sadhana. So japa, kirtan, reading, study, puja, improving them in, more of it. I mentioned that one elderly devotee in Fiji, retired devotee, he asked Prabhupada what he should do. Prabhupada said, more japa. Chant more rounds. So more chanting, more kirtan, more reading and study, and quality also, paying attention to the quality of our chanting, the quality of our reading and study, and so on. This is really the nub of it. If we just give up, the Shankarites do that. That's not our ultimate purpose. Our ultimate purpose is to invest ourselves in our relationship with Krishna, in our spiritual identity. What is that? Muktir hitva anyata rupam swarupena vyavastati. Liberation means getting free from our false identity and coming to our real identity. So we talked about so many things that belong to our temporary identity, to our false identity, to our, to what we're ultimately not. But these are the things that nourish what we actually are, that we're eternal servants of Krishna, we're eternal parts of Krishna. Okay, anything else there?
Tulsi Priya has a question.
Tulsi Priya.
Hi, Krishna Maharaj. What's going on here? I was wondering, sometimes I have seen ladies who were widows and they wear a very small amount of jewelry.
Yes.
And I always thought it was kind of peculiar, but on the other hand, I think that when a lady is preaching, if she's completely, I don't know, I always consider it a form of kind of psychic armor, that when you have like something a little bit nice on you, people take you more seriously. I think I've even seen Buddhist nuns wear a small amount of jewelry. So I was just wondering your thoughts on that.
I don't have many thoughts about ladies' jewelry.
I'm not surprised.
Certainly simplifying is good. The Vanaprastha lady doesn't have to be decorated like a baby elephant. Simplification. Even I remember I was in a lachua some years ago, and one of my god sisters had shown up at the morning program with hair that was newly rich and dark. And, it was kind of like everybody was happy, all the ladies were ooh, ooh, ooh. But after a short time, she thought better of it. And then she showed up quite gray, in her natural gray. And I was impressed that, yes, this lady is serious. She's serious. What's the point of looking good, trying to look younger and so on and so on. I mean, not that we have to look like terrible or scary, but so much of modern culture is invested in or has to do with women trying to look younger than they are for whatever reason. And often what happens is that they wind up looking monstrous, painted thick with a mask of stuff and really looking bad. But okay, I'm not going too far there. So accepting that the body's getting older, and I don't have to pretend that I'm young. Doesn't mean I should be neglectful about my appearance if I'm still in the preaching field. One can be, but modest, I guess, would be a good word. Modesty, simplicity, dignity, rather
at least
than,
relative to other people.
yes, yes. Now, if you go to Vrindavan and you want to, go full on toward the, tapasvi, Vesh and all of that, that's a different story. But if you're still in the preaching field or still in, preaching field, then you can consider. Again, the same theme of simplicity and using your own intelligence and your skillful determination so that you appropriately do everything in a favorable manner for Krishna's service.
May I ask another question? Yeah, may I ask another question?
Yes.
This has to do with livelihood. Many devotees spent their prime earning years doing service, living in temples, things like that. I joined rather late, but I didn't have much of a career. I didn't really have a career to start with, and I certainly had less of that opportunity after I joined. And then actually, you gave a Vanaprastha seminar last at least 10 years ago. I had said to you, Maharaj, before I take Vanaprastha, I need to make some money, and you approved, I think. And then it wasn't until about 5 years ago that we started figuring out a way to have some income. And I was just wondering, for people who haven't accumulated a nest egg on which to retire, and that's a subject of, a common subject of discussion for a lot of people, is it permissible to continue doing some kind of livelihood if it's not too intrusive on your bhajan, or, what do you do?
Well, that's, of course, the topic that's the big topic, which I've deliberately kept out of today's discussion. It could all be summed up in one word: security. What is our security? And that's a very important topic and a very big topic. And I've deliberately, in today's session, put that topic aside and gone on to things that won't compromise anything that has to do with security. If anything, some of these things will improve your security. You get to downsize and put money in your pocket, if you like, from things you've gotten rid of or the things that you've made more modest in your life. So these are all no risk or even decreasing your risk, because if you're lowering your cost of living, you're decreasing any kind of risk that might present itself. So that's today's theme. And as I said, I think before, we'll circle back to the security question. I don't want to neglect it because it's important, but not today.
Okay. Yeah, I might have been doing some stuff on the back end here and didn't catch that part if you mentioned it at the beginning.
I didn't mention it today. I mentioned it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I have one question.
Who is that?
Vamsidhari Gopal Das.
Vamsidhari, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandvat Pranam. So Maharaj, during the Vanaprastha time, let's say if I'm not traveling and in the preaching activity, then focus should be on doing individual sadhana, or still look for opportunities to do any kind of service which suit your skills and.
Well, that's my next topic. You've ushered in my next slide.
Okay.
That along with sadhana comes seva.
Yeah, right.
We're not dead yet.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So this is the opportunity, and we hear from householders so often, Maharaj, I have no time for chanting, I have no time for reading, I have no time for this, I'm so busy, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and between my job and my family and my this and my that, and I get home at 8:30 at night, and I'm always on call, and no time. So the Vanaprastha life changes that. Now we have time.
Right.
So the time can be used for sadhana, and the time can be used for seva. Mm-hmm. We can take part in the temple programs. We can, it's my next slide that we'll talk more about this. This is more that we can do. I'll jump to the next slide. Why not? Temple service, use your skills for the movement, serve the Vaishnavas, serve as a mentor, preach. These are great for you and great for the movement. The movement is sort of hampered in one sense by having large numbers of grihastas who have no time. They're not available to be pujaris. They're not available to do preaching engagements. They're not available for this. They're not available for that because they're busy. As brahmacharis, they had so much time, but as vanaprasthas, as grihastas, they're busy. And that's all right. But now here's an opportunity that in vanaprastha life, you can sort of take advantage of the benefits that you had as a brahmachari before marriage, that you have time. So you can serve the deity, you can serve in the temple, the lifetime of skills that you've developed, you can use to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. You can serve the Vaishnavas and so on. So this is wonderful. It's like, therefore, the Vanaprastha adventure, it's like a new life. It's a new life. I've freed myself, or I'm in the process of freeing myself from so many burdens and responsibilities. That's one side. And on the other side, wow, I can do all these things for Krishna that I always wanted to do, or that I used to do, or that I'm missing. So definitely, it's not that the Vanaprastha ashram for us is go to the forest and live on roots and berries, but to serve. Our purpose is ultimately to serve. And it may be that there'll come a time in our Vanaprastha life when we can't do much service. That also comes, or may come, may or may not. But therefore, Pancha Shortam Vanam Vrajate, by 50. 50 means you still have vitality, you still have energy, you still have decent health, we hope. So you have years where you can render lots of active service. I have a little list someplace of, no, here it is, in fact, some of the Vanaprasthas in our Krishna consciousness movement who are officially or unofficially Vanaprasthas. Pancharatna Prabhu, Badahari Prabhu, the Atul Krishna Prabhu, Prithu Prabhu, Yaduvara Prabhu, Sankarshan, the self-realization course, Sankarshan, Dinabandhu Prabhu, Atmaram Prabhu, Gujarati Atmaram, Vaisheshika Prabhu. These are all devotees who are doing lots and lots and lots and lots of service. And they haven't given up 100% their connection with their wife. It's still there, but it's not family life anymore. It's not all about family happiness. It's really about devotional service. For some of these devotees, it was never about family happiness anyway. It was really service all along for many of these devotees. So they serve as examples that we can retire from the more family-based activities and use our energy in a way that benefits others and benefits ourselves. Is that okay?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'll back up to that was I think, in fact, the last slide. Yes, so we'll back up. These are other things that you can do. Sadhu Sangha, through temple programs, study groups, reading groups, festivals, pilgrimages, padayatra, associating with sadhus, inviting them to your home, online Sangha, really looking, and not just, sort of invite a sannyasi and feed him nicely and give him a check, but really to associate with devotees, to talk about Krishna, to talk about spiritual progress, to inquire about how we we advance in spiritual life, to cultivate a similar mentality of detachment and of enthusiasm and devotional service. What is that? Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga. Otherwise, we can associate and not associate. We can hang out, but not get the same spiritual benefit. But if we take the opportunity to associate with devotees, serve devotees, inquire from devotees who are more advanced or who are on the same path that we are, then this becomes our life, to associate with the devotees with the focus on Krishna's service and spiritual progress. And we're just about at the end here today. And I'm not going to give a whole lot more classes on this, I think. We will, as I said, circle back to security. We will circle back to some other things. And I want to leave time for things that I haven't put on my outline, but maybe on your outline, things that matter to you in these things. And that's sort of where we are. And I could call for more questions at this point, but really we're like 2 minutes to 8, and we do have our Tuaco program starting at 8 o'clock. So I think the best thing is to bid you goodbye and wish you happy chanting. And we'll see you either in 2 minutes on the other channel, or if you are so kind as to come back, we'll see you next week. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila
Yeah.
Prabhupada.